On today's show, it is part 2 with my friend Tyler Jones joining me to talk all things Atlanta Hawks on the eve of the regular season, and we'll get into all of that and more right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1825 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Sunday evening into Monday, and today's podcast is sponsored by the folks at the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app right now, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. At the top of the podcast, I should also tell you to make it your first listen each and every day here at Locked On Hawks. Check us out and subscribe to the podcast anywhere you find your audio podcasts like Apple and Spotify, and we're also on YouTube, so please go ahead and like this video as you are watching it and subscribe to the podcast, leave your comments, etc., and help us to spread the word across the board about the Atlanta Hawks and about this podcast. If you missed it, part 1 is available in the same podcast feed right now, and I would definitely encourage you to listen to part 1 first between myself and Tyler Jones to begin the conversation and listen to it in full. It should have dropped at the same time as part 2, so go ahead and find that one on your podcast platform of choice, but this is going to be part 2. The rest of the conversation, ins and outs of the preseason, and of course, we'll look ahead a little bit to what's to come and some keys of the season, et cetera, and no more delay here. We'll dive right back in now with myself and Tyler Jones and part 2. So we started this conversation a little bit with a defensive reference, right? About, and when we ended that part of it too with defense, and I think it's worth talking about and emphasizing that because everyone understands around the team. Quinn isn't going to say it as plainly as we are going to say it here, but they know they got to defend or nothing else matters. Like you could be number 1 in offense and this year. And if they're, just to remind everybody quickly, they were 27th in defense last year. 27th. And
right,
you know how hard it is to do that? Go ahead.
List the teams.
Well, that's what I was about to say. So it's really hard to be that bad when you are trying to win. And they were trying to win last year. The only other team, actually it's perfect because the only other team in the bottom 8 of defense last year that was trying to win, and you know where I'm going with this, was the Pacers. Yeah. And they were ahead of the Hawks. They were ahead of the Hawks with that style where they were clearly prioritizing offense. So it was the Jazz were worst, the Hornets were 29th, the Wizards were 28th. All 3 of those teams were tanking to some varying degree last year. And then the Raptors were not quite taking that hard, but they were bad. The Pistons, these are the teams around where the Hawks were defensively last year.
The worst teams in the NBA, you guys.
The worst teams in the league.
That's what the Hawks were last year.
That is how bad they were. So we'll start. I want to ask you some questions about the seasons coming up. I don't make you give predictions or whatever, but it's one of those things where there's a baseline that you have to reach. And look, I've been saying this all summer. I don't even know if you agree with me or not. Like, they do want to win games. The Hawks are going to try to win every game. You and I were backed up on that this week on Twitter, talking to different people about this. Like, guys, they're not – priority is winning. At the same time, they're also trying to learn. It's an interesting season. It's kind of a transition season in some respects. They're trying to win. But everyone knows they can't defend like they did last year. Even at Media Day. Media Day is usually like super joyous, and it was on that level. Every team is upbeat at Media Day for the most part. But the serious answers you would get from guys, and I shared a lot of the audio with people, was like, guys, we got to defend. Like, everyone understands. There's a tone set there. That's not all you have to do. You still have to have personnel to do it. You got to execute. You got to avoid injuries, all those things. But I'll just ask you this, like, how much better are they going to be defensively? Because I think we agree they're going to be better just because of the personnel. They're going to be better. But how much better? Because that's really what comes down to. Like, the offense, there's definitely some room for maneuvering there too, and we can talk about it if you want to. Like, are they going to be elite or just pretty good on offense is an actual question we should answer. But defensively, nothing else matters. If you're 27th in defense again, you might make the play because the East is terrible, but like, you might be the 9 or 10 seed again. And that isn't like a disaster on its own this year. But if they're that bad on defense again, like, that's a disaster. Like, there's no way to spin that. They invested defensively. They're trying to get better defensively, and you cannot be 27th in defense.
Before preseason, I would have said I thought they were going to be around league average or maybe even slightly below, because I didn't know. I didn't know what Risacher was going to look like. And they're also like Kobe Buffkin. He hasn't played. Like, there's a lot of unknowns on this team. Then watching, to get to Risacher for a second here, the biggest takeaway that I have of this kid is like, he's huge. The
Yeah.
man is the tallest player on the. Like, he might be the tallest player on the team. I don't think he is, but
He's not. I stood next to Mo Gay is taller than him, but I joked about. I don't think it's a joke. I think Mo Gay might be the only guy taller than him.
but like he's and you realize like most NBA teams don't have guys this big. Like that's their center. For the Hawks, he's a wing player, and
Pure
like
wing.
it really came to a head when they're playing the Sixers, and the Sixers have a smallish four. And so the Hawks just threw Risacher out there, and like he's the biggest guy on the floor. He's grabbing every defensive rebound, like high pointing the basketball. There are two things with Risacher that have become abundantly apparent. One, his French team did him no favors. In a normal draft, he would have lost draft positioning because of how they were having him play. Like that came apparent in summer league when he was throwing like out of this world passes, that came apparent that he had a lot more like, behind the back dribbles, saucing dudes up. Like he very clearly had more juice to his basketball game than what he showcased in France. It became very clear that in France, his team didn't allow him to do anything.
He was in a role.
He was in a role.
He was in a fifth starter kind of role for most of the season.
But like I said, when talking about him, he still played. He played the second most minutes on that team though. It just showcased that even though he was in a limited role, he was still super valuable for winning on a good basketball team. So now he came to the US, he's doing more. That's clear. But the other thing that's pretty obvious is, I joked when the weights came out that Risacher gained 20 pounds after whenever he had the combine in like May or June or whatever.
I think it was like early. It was like mid-May to mid-July. He was supposedly gained 20 pounds in like 2 months. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't believe that. However,
he's bigger.
Bob said it. Bob said the trainers told, and Bob Rathburn's not going to BS me. So
no, he won't. No,
and also, but it's clear beyond just bigger, he's a lot stronger than what he was.
I saw to back you up. I saw him in person in Vegas. Like I talked to him in Vegas, right, up close and personal. You don't really get as close. That's as close as you get it to a guy in his middle because they're in their jerseys still. Like they're doing post game. They're still in their uniform. So I was right next to him. He's real. He's still quite thin, but like he was rail skinny then in July. I saw him at media day. They're in their uniform. Like he's visibly bigger. Like you can already see that he's thicker, cut up, all those things that you would see.
It's showing up in his game because he's a lot more confident physically, and that shows up very clearly on the defensive end, where he's beyond holding up. He's like stuffing guys, and he's able to compete for rebounds. He's able to contest shots. He's able to get steals. Like he's
playing as the role man, baby. Your favorite thing is playing as the role man on offense. Come on now.
I mean, that's we'll talk about the offense in a second. I want to focus on the defense just because, I think it's like if you want to talk about why I think the Hawks going to be better, it's because Risacher's on this team. If this is the Risacher the Hawks going to get, what they got in the preseason, which is a guy who is very good defensively, like beyond just for a rookie. That size, be able to navigate screens, be able to communicate on defensive end, rebound, get steals, et cetera. That's just a good defensive player, full stop, at his size, which allows you to play bigger behind him at the power forward and center position because he's a wing. All of a sudden, the Hawks are going to have a size advantage on teams where they're able to recreate what Sadiq Bey potentially gave them in a different body type, because a lot of what Risacher is doing on the offensive end is being around the rim. Like, it's just, I'm around the rim. Teams are putting smaller guys on me because whatever, I'm a rookie. And I'm just going to catch the ball over them and finish a layup. And it's like, that's going to force teams to have to change the way they play the Hawks, where now they're going to have to put bigger players on Risacher. But then you got Jalen. That's why I think Quinn wants to pair Risacher and Jalen so much. It's like, you're going to put a bigger guy on Risacher? Well, then you got to worry about Jalen Johnson now, And so it kind of, the defense flows into the offense with Risacher a bit, where, he's flashing way more I mean, we've talked about he's flashing way more. You joked about the romance stuff, but it's
it's not.
legitimate.
I'm not joking. It's a
I
it's a
mean,
weapon potentially for them.
it's legitimate because that's not something I saw in film. Like he rolls like a center.
Oh, it didn't
And
exist on film. It didn't. I think I watched a lot of
we
research.
watched a lot.
I don't think I ever saw. I don't think I ever saw that on film, which is fine.
The only thing I saw on tape was that he had always consistently had great hands. He never fumbled the basketball wherever he was.
Yeah.
Even
he keeps it high too, which is good.
He keeps it high, and he never fumbles the ball, so that gives him. And he's very coordinated. Like I mean, that's probably something where if that would probably show up more if you were actually there in the building. Just how coordinated he is at his
he
size.
Doesn't have the like for his body type. You would see like you might guess the 18, 19-year-old kid who's 6'9", kind of gangly looking might be less than. To your point, like. He is the prototype of a guy like might be not quite into his body yet and might have some clumsiness that he doesn't have. It doesn't really have that. He's very smooth. I mean, the French jokes write themselves. He's very smooth. Like he is very smooth. Like he moves very smoothly, and he also is competitive. I mean,
he's a competitor.
He's competitive. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, every stereotype of European. Hopefully, that's not a thing anymore. Hopefully, that's gone away. But like the old stereotype of European players, that no, this guy's a maniac, man. He wants to be better. Having guys around him that are competitive, like I mean, Dyson's really competitive too. We talked about him earlier, but like he's a competitive dude. Bogey's a maniac. Having Bogey around him would be good. I think for a lot of the tricks of the trade on the wing. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, and the season is now here in a big way. You can begin the season with a big return as well at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and you can check out a ton of information sets from latest stats to live play-by-play and so much more all on the same page where you're placing your bets at FanDuel Sportsbook. You also begin with a big offer at FanDuel. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel. You should also know that FanDuel Sportsbook is really easy to use in the app in particular. And the other thing that you actually want or looking for in the sports betting space, from over-unders to point spreads to money lines to player props, they have live betting, same-game parlays, future bets, and so much more. The app is safe. It's secure. They cover the entire range of sports as well. NBA, of course, is first and foremost on this podcast. That's there at FanDuel as well. WNBA, NFL, college football, MLB, hockey, golf, tennis, soccer, auto racing, boxing, MMA, and so many more sports for you. And now is an awesome time to sign up with the folks at FanDuel Sportsbook, and the place to go is FanDuel.com to get started. And when you get there, you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. One more time, just visit FanDuel.com and check out America's #1 sportsbook. Man, and also, look, this is kind of biased, but I actually asked Lauren Williams about this on the show. The fact that Trey buys it already, and it's very obvious that Trey buys it, is meaningful to me.
Beyond just the words, you watch the game when Trey's on the
floor. That's what I'm saying.
Always looking for him. He's always looking for him. I'm like, Trae Young is not somebody who goes out of Trae Young is not somebody who's going to feed somebody usage. He goes to whoever has the best advantage. And like to him, he's like, they have a smaller guy on Risacher. We're going to run 1-3 pick and rolls until they figure something else out. Like it's like the give a go he had in the corner. Trey's never done that in his career with anybody. He's done it a little bit with Jalen, but because Risacher has the added heft of like teams don't want him to shoot open jumpers. Like there's just a different level of, oh, we got to get out to both of these guys. Then Risacher is going to dive to the rim and then finish over centers. That's just a normal thing a basketball player does. Like I need people to understand wings don't do this. You don't see high level like the basketball play. Like to me, this is why I'm super high on Risacher. The basketball players who are able to score at the rim consistently, the way Risacher splash, we'll see if it carries over in the regular season. I think it will. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't. He's got great touch with both hands, but who could do that plus shoot like at a high level are the elite players in the game. And like the only thing he doesn't have is self-creation. Yeah. But like to me, I'm and this is where people have to understand there is a process to get to self-creation as a basketball player. It's okay if your wing isn't an elite self-creator as a 19-year-old. You know what I'm saying? It's more important that he's a play finisher now, because that's how you become more of a as you get older, you get more confident, you get more stronger because I think strength is still what he's missing overall as a basketball player to be able to create shots for himself. It's really just the physicality of being able to do it. He has the handle. He has the tools. He just doesn't have the raw physical strength. Jalen has added more strength relative recently into his game. That's why he's able to do more on the offensive end. Like that's going to come with time with Risacher, but like, I mean, as a play finisher, he might already be one of the best. Like Brad, I remember when I was like, he's going to win Rookie of the Year, 60% true shooting, 16 points a game, and you're like, nah, he's not. Come on, like Tyler, you're too high. And I
wouldn't have projected that. Yeah,
I'm just going. And like I'm like I was tweeting out my butt. Like I'm I like to,
I know.
But after watching him, I'm gonna be honest. After watching him, the only reason why he wouldn't win Rookie of the Year is if he doesn't get the minutes. And like
I do think this is not what this podcast is for, but I might say this later on my last show for the season. But no, I think after watching him in the preseason and how they're using him in particular, the only thing I agree with you 100%. The only thing that look, maybe another guy has a big season too, but like it is seen as this very wide open race. Our friends at FanDuel have I think it's 9-1 at FanDuel right now to win Rookie of the Year. It shouldn't be 9-1. Like I don't know if he's going to win it, but based on the way he looked in the preseason and how they're using him, and it's very clear. Like we did say this coming into the year, he was always going to play. Like I was stressing that to everybody. Like he's going to play. Like they're obviously not going to bury him, but I think because they have Hunter, because they have Jalen, because they have all these guys, like he may not start the opener, and that's a different debate. I already know what the reaction is going to be Wednesday. If they start DeAndre Hunter on Wednesday, my mentions are going to be uninhabitable the rest of the game, and it's fine. I'm not saying that you're right or wrong. It's just what's going to happen. But he's going to play. Like I don't know what the number is, but I think Risacher is going to average 27 minutes a game. I don't know, maybe more. I have no idea.
Brad, I mean, I saw it. It was night and day when he wasn't playing, and like especially when Jalen went out the floor, I'm like, wow, this team's not as big as you would like for an NBA team to be. Like they're lacking some real size. They could use Risacher out here on the floor right now, or they need some more shooting. They could use Risacher out on the floor right now, or they need another perimeter defender. They could use Risacher on the floor right now. Like it became very clear during the preseason.
He checks a lot of boxes.
He checked a lot. Like Quinn wasn't giving him pity minutes. At some point, no. I think it was like Quinn was just leaving him out there for extended. I'm like, Quinn, he's been out on the floor for like 15 minutes straight. Like, can he get a blow?
No, they don't. And that there is a distinction that's actually a good point you brought up there. Even if he wasn't ready, he would play. Absolutely. Because his number one overall pick, he was going to play either way. So this is back in June. I'm like, guys, he's going to play. Don't worry about it. But I think they also think he should play, like to win. Is what I'm saying. Like I think he is now. Again, it's all early. It's early, but I think from what I've heard, what I've seen with my eyes, but also what I've heard off the record, on the record, all those things, they think he's one of their best 8 or 9 guys. It's not like they're not giving him entitlement minutes. This is not Cam Reddish. All due respect to Cam Reddish. This is not early where like people that like you could not argue he was one of their best 5 players, but he was playing a lot because he was a top 10 pick. That wasn't this. Even Hunter, but Reddish is a more extreme example. Risacher, yes, he's number 1 pick. He's going to play. They also think he's good, like already, which is it's meaningful to me. Like if they had drafted, if you want to say Alex R, pick whatever guy it would have been. I don't know if that guy would have.
If they would have drafted Reed Shepherd,
sure. I mean Reed Shepherd or Alex R, whoever you want to say it would be. Yeah. Steph Castle, pick your guy. Doesn't matter. That guy would have played. I don't know if any of those guys would have projected to help them like Risacher might help them as a rookie. Like Alex Sarr, I still kind of believe in his defense, all those things. He wasn't at any point going to be better than any of the centers the Hawks had this year.
Nope.
He wasn't going to be better that day than Okongwu or Capella or even Nance as a rookie. Part of the appeal of drafting a two-way wing, by the way, which is part of why they did it, was that there's so many ways that guy can help you. Like there's independent of Brett Risacher's skill set, like just even the archetype. That's why they kind of leaned to that archetype at the end. Was like, guys, we like this player, but also we like this archetype because everyone wants this player. Everyone wants that player.
They drafted him for that because they're like, hey, he's going to be a good jump shooter, and then they get him in the building and they realize, oh, there's a lot more to his game. And I just want to point to the romance stuff. It's important because it just gives it gives you another weapon as a Hawks team. Like it gives you another out as Risacher as a player to be effective in this league. Where it's like, yeah, I could be one of the best rollmen, in the game. I don't know how much they're going to do it, but if teams are going to, if their Hawks are going to, if teams are going to defend him with smaller players, he's going to do well as an offensive rebounder, as a guy who's just literally just in as a post player. That's also something he showcased in summer league, just his post skill, and like he could be a potential something they haven't had since Gallinari left, a switch killer. It's different. It's not the ISO old man game that Gallinari had, but like with the skill level of shooting, passing, dribbling, and also being able to finish at the rim through contact, it's going to make it hard for teams. Teams are going to have to make hard decisions. We're like, oh, we can't switch a small guy on Risacher or we're dead. Or the possession ends. He's just going to, like, there's just, just the knowledge of constantly always creating passing lanes for your teammates to get guys on your back, like a center. Like that is not an easy skill. That is not a skill he showcased at all on tape. And then I'm also seeing, he does on ball. He's jailing guys a little bit. He's putting them in jail. He's creating a little bit of stuff for himself to get to his spots around the rim, and then making good reads off of that. Like he's just a complete player. Like I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. Like he's a complete player. Now it's like, if he like before we saw him, it was like he has to shoot it. Now it's like he can have a rough month stretch. It's not going to be the end of the world because he does other things.
Well, long term he's got to shoot it, but
of course.
Yes.
To be an elite player, of course he's going to have to shoot. But I'm just talking about if he goes into a shooting slump like Sadiq Bey, it's not the end of the world because he's defensively. Well, also the Hawks have more depth behind him, but also defensively he's just so much like flat out.
He'll be playable, and also I think and part of this could be both sides because he's the #1 overall pick. He's going to have some of the he'll get attacked a little in a way that guys maybe don't as rookies because he's going to have that little less of a target than. Look, he's not hyped like a #1 overall pick. We talked about this many times, but vets are still going to go at him. Vets are still going to be like, this guy's #1 overall pick. I'm going at him tonight. And that's fine. But I think that he also will get guarded that way. Like, even if he's not making shots, he'll get closed out on. It's something Glenn and I talked about with Jalen, like, and different things. Like, there are shooters and there are guys who get guarded as shooters. He gets guarded as a shooter already. You already saw that in the preseason. He'll get closed out on the hard and helps everybody else. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's something that happens to scare you? For me, I'm really afraid of heights. I will admit that openly. I've been that way for a very long time. And therapy, though, is a great tool to face your fears and actually find ways to overcome those fears. Sometimes the scariest thing is not facing the fears in the first place, but holding ourselves back as a result of that. And therapy can be helpful for everyone. And that is why I check out the folks at BetterHelp. You can learn positive coping skills, how to set better boundaries, and also be empowered to be the best version of yourself. I have my own stresses and fears that I deal with all the time. And we can all benefit from getting things off of our chest sometimes. If you think about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try right now. It's entirely online. It's designed to be flexible and convenient to your schedule, which is huge for people like me who are navigating time crunches all the time. BetterHelp is great for that. And all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Take off the mask with the folks at BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. One more time, the place to go is BetterHelp. That's better. That's BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, it's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. At the risk of doing all of this on just two guys, which is fine. Is there anything you want to get to that's not them? Or because look, the season started. This will be our last time we talk before the season started. We don't have to predict anything. I will on Tuesday before the season starts. I kind of have to. But anything else you're looking at? Anything else to swing the season? Like what in your mind is going to open the door to the season for the Hawks? And also, I do want to know what you think now about how good they're going to be, just generally speaking.
I think something to monitor is Capella's finishing in particular, because it's preseason. No, hear me out. It's been a lot better. It's been a lot better as a finisher. And a large part of it is that there's just more space on the offensive side of the floor. The way they're playing, like their lane is just not crowded. And so he's having an easier time finishing around the rim. And so it's going to be interesting, not just with Capella, but if this is how they're going to play. Because I felt like we said this last year about them playing 5 out, even with Capella on the floor. And then as the season got going, Capella just was
They stopped doing it.
Yeah, they just stopped doing it. But like, it seems like Capella's really evolved as a passer, one, a little bit more. And two, they have more spacing on the floor, just not necessarily proven shooters, the guys who are going to space beyond the 3-point line. So it's going to be interesting to see if that holds up. I'm, like I said, I think they're going to be. I think if Risacher is this good, they're going to be really good. Like if Risacher and Daniels are this good, because most teams don't have wings like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fighting myself because you know me. Like I have to keep my guard up on this. He's still a rookie, so it's like I have to see more of it. But I tend to agree with you. For me, it's Dyson. Like I've also tried not to put too much pressure on Dyson too, because like, look, the reality is, as much as we like him, he's never been a 30-minute a game player in the NBA. He's never done it. He's never stayed healthy. All those things that you have to do until you do it, you haven't done it. But I do buy it. And look, I think all Hawks fans know this. And I talked about it with Glenn for an hour plus last week. Jalen's gonna be really good, and Jalen was good last year. He should be better be better in year 4, which is really year 3 for him after the kind of weird rookie season. If he takes a step forward, Dyson gives you what you give you. Risacher is a better than average rookie, which at the very least, I think he's going to be a better, more helpful basketball player as a rookie than the vast majority of rookies are. That's a low bar, but I think that's pretty safe to say. Even after watching just this, I believe that. Whether he wins Rookie of the Year, I don't really care about that. Fans do, and that's fine. But like, I have a hard time thinking he's going to be like the disastrous rookie that a lot of guys end up being. Like Alex Sarr might just suck this year. All respect to Alex Sarr. That's possible. He might just be brutal. Risacher is not going to be brutal. It's not. There's no way he's going to be bad like that. I don't think.
And just to end on this point, like Risacher wants to be better. Like Risacher wants to be better. He wants to improve. Like, I mean, it's pretty. Again, just to go harp on this point, it's pretty obvious he put in some real work in the offseason to gain muscle mass. Like, that's not something you could say about a lot of rookies. Like, I watched Alex Sarr a couple games in the preseason. He looked the same as he did last year. And not to say he's not putting in the work, but there's when you're at a deficit, you have to work harder in order to catch up with the rest of the league, because the NBA is a physical league. Regardless of what the old timers think, like these guys are strong, big, strong. Like it's just there's a lot of guys who can dribble on a normal basketball floor. They get to the NBA, they have no chance to dribble because they don't have the requisite strength to go
with defense. Like defense, that's the thing. I mean, we'll avoid the rabbit hole of like the old timer thing, but since you said that, like the rep of defense being bad in the NBA is like the silliest thing in the world. It just is. Like teams are better than others. Obviously, the Hawks were terrible defensively compared to the rest of the league, but like there are no plays off in the NBA. Like guys you can't coast the way you used to be able to coast. Like, I mean, you just
and to harp on your point where it's like the good thing overall about this team is that they're depth. They're deep. This is a deep team. Like
they have real depth this year.
They have 3 centers who are all good. They have multiple forwards, wings, guards. The only thing they're lacking is a traditional point guard besides Trae Young. Outside of that, they have a replacement for every player. So if multiple guys are hurt, like even somebody like we haven't talked about him that much, but even somebody like David Roddy.
Yeah, David Roddy has played. David Roddy has played NBA rotation minutes in Memphis and Phoenix. Like he may not be great, but he's respectfully, I love Wes Matthews. David Roddy is better than Wes Matthews was last year, at the very least.
Absolutely. Like somebody you could throw out there at the 3 or the 4 and just be like, "Hey, we need some size, we need some strength, we need a perimeter defense." Like,
I mean, you and I are Team Veet too. Like Veet might not be Veet. There's a chance Veet does not play on Wednesday. Yeah, that is a possibility, and Veet is better than that. Is that you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Veet is too good to not play, and he may not play on Wednesday.
And I mean that just shows that the Hawks this is a super deep team, so they can 82 game season is a marathon. They can handle that string of injuries that have tanked their seasons the last couple of years because they haven't been deep enough. So like that's the plus of, do they have the elite talent? We'll see. I mean, I'm super high on Trey, but outside of Trey, it's kind of like it's a bunch of good players.
Jalen might be that.
Jalen might be that. Bogey's shown some of that in stretches. Capella's shown that in stretches as well. I think Okongwu still has the talent to be that. But like none of this is proven outside of Trae Young.
No.
But you can win in this league without that. Like these teams, like with how flattened the talent pool is in the NBA today. As long as you're putting out 5 guys out there on the floor who are good basketball players, you're giving yourself who are good at a lot of things on both ends, and you can make combinations work so that you have enough offense and defense. You can win a lot of games in this league because a lot of teams just don't have a lot of. I mean, the Thunder, for as great as
like you say, there's all these teams that are like, even the really good teams, if they get 2 injuries, and like look, every team has injury. Like if you get 2, every team has a point where if you have too many injuries, it gets to be dicey. I'm not saying everyone's,
but with how many good teams there are in the NBA right now, like it's just going to be. It's never been harder to win games, and this is my point. Like one injury last season tanked the Hawks season. It was Jalen Johnson. Once he got hurt, the season ended. Now you won't be in that deficit anymore. You can have
the only like just to say out loud,
be competitive.
Yeah, the only one is Trey. If they lose Trey, then that's a different conversation. I will stand on that. Now, I think they might be able to weather the storm on Trey for a little while.
They can.
I think a long-term Trey injury would be really hard for this team to overcome. But look, that's the case for most teams.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. If your best player's out, like in the NBA, you're probably screwed long term. It just is.
Well, I think in the short term, I'm a believer in what Kobe Buffett. We haven't talked about him, and we're not going to have time.
I like Kobe too, and that's fine. I like Kobe.
I think they have enough for like a 5-8 game stretch. They can. They're not getting 0-8.
They do have they have options. So like
I just talk about B too. To remember when Jalen got hurt, the Hawks were like 0-8 and we're getting blown out every game.
Yeah, they lost every game for 2 weeks.
Uncompetitive. And that was the season. That literally was the season, guys. And that's my point. Like, no 1 or 2 guys, if they get hurt, is going to just completely bottom the season up, which is the starting point this Hawks team needs to have combined. And then you can build off that where, like, hey, this added size compared to other teams is a advantage. We might go back to our previous formula, 2021, where we're a great offensive rebounding team, highly efficient on the offensive end, and quality defense. That's a winning formula in this league.
Yeah, just to reference what you were saying, that when Jalen got hurt in November last year, they were 8-7. I believe about 2 or 3 weeks later, they were like 9-15, and suddenly you're in 11th place and you're playing from behind all year long and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, we talked about it. They are deeper. Defensively, they should be better. We'll hold off. We'll probably reassess this later when we see more. But offensively, the question is like not whether they'll be good. It's just how good. Like, can you be back in that elite category where they've been at times in Trey's era, or are they in that 10 to 12 range, where they were last year? And that might dictate how many wins they get. The play-in race. Like I know you've seen this, and I'm not saying this matters, but most people, I would say the vast majority of people, smart or not even smart, in my opinion, have picked the Hawks like 9th. Because like, and I get it. I actually understand that. It's not, there's varying degrees of that. But if you see them, like
this team has not proven anything. I completely understand.
That's what I'm saying. So I get when fans get upset, and I understand that. But even so, I'll just spoil alert for the next couple of days. I'm firmly over where the consensus is on the Hawks nationally, I would say. And I'm already prepping. People are going to be mad at me when I'm not like 48 wins. Like, I'm not going to say that. It is what it is because of what you said. They have not proven it. Now, I think we painted a pretty optimistic picture on this podcast. Pretty encouraged picture. Like, I believe that. Everything we said, I believe. The talent is young. And also, they're really young. The only guys. Like, they have 3 rotation guys who are on the older side. Bogey, Clint, and Nance.
Yep.
They might trade Nance before February. I have no idea how that's going to go. He's expiring. We'll see. But he's a good player, which we talked about before. Larry Nance is a good player. Like, that's a helpful piece. Clint is expiring, all that stuff. The other 6, 7, 8 guys we talked about are all, 25 or younger, 26 or younger?
26 or younger, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of future-facing stuff on this, and, I'm encouraged. I think you have to be encouraged. But basically, like I've said this before, I'll say you can respond to this. If the Hawks, I think they're going to win more games than last year. But if the Hawks win the same amount of games last year or something in that range, but they do it with the young guys looking good, that is way better than what happened last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they do it with Risacher and Dyson and Jalen versus the guys that either are still here or not still here, like there are ways to win. Like there are ways that it matters. Like ultimately, you want to win games. And Quinn will say that. I don't think Quinn would admit to any of this, but like if they win 38 games, but it comes with young guys driving the success and showing things, that is better. It just is. Like it's a future. They're not winning the championship this year. Like we could just be objective about it.
Here's my optimistic point of view, real quick, for the Hawks. I believe in Trae Young. Like he made me a believer in the Celtics series when I thought they had zero chance, and all of a sudden it's a game 6 at home, in which they could have won if DeAndre Hunter made an open 3-pointer and Jaylen Brown missed. No, I mean I didn't mean to knock DeAndre. He played a great game.
No, I know.
Like it was a tough miss. I was there. I was like, man, it was the game was there to win.
I was there too.
But
I was there for you.
But like from nothing, they had nothing that series, and then all of a sudden Trae was just undeniable. And like to me, I'm like, this is somebody you can win a championship with. I don't care about his issues, but you got to build the team the right way. And I think, and to me, the optimistic view is that I think Risacher raises their floor in ways I don't think they expected when they first got the number 1 overall pick. When they got it, they're like, we're going to take whoever we think is the best player, develop them, give them developmental minutes. We're going to take a back seat this year. We traded Murray, et cetera, et cetera. And then they got him in the building, and they're like, oh, this kid is good. It's one of the things we talked about this earlier about Trae looking for Risacher on offense. Like I've never known Trae Young to believe in a teammate like this as a rookie. The only guys he believed in his Hawks career is Bogey, Capella, and John Collins rolling to the rim. Everybody else is like, I mean, DeJounte, he didn't believe in DeJounte. He wasn't doing this stuff with DeJounte Murray, what he and Risacher are doing. Now, there were reasons for that, but like I'm just trying to paint a picture here. And he's starting to do that. He was starting to do that with Jalen. Like I feel like he and Jalen are getting a rapport as well. So like there's levels of, I think Trae believes in the vision of this team. Trae's not somebody who's going to be gassing up teammates like this. He's talking about Dyson Daniels. He's talking up Risacher. He's talking up he was talking up Jalen last year. Like I think he believes in the vision of this team, and I think if these guys are good, Trae is the type of talent who can raise your ceiling. Like he's just somebody who can just unlock stuff offensively that makes those guys' lives easier. Meanwhile, those guys on the defensive end make his life easier. And instead of these last, the previous Trae Young era, where you're constantly fighting offense for defense. We got to play John and Capella together to fix the defense, but our offense is going to struggle. Then we're going to throw out Gallinari bogey minutes and get lit up on the defensive side of the floor, but we got to score points. Like we're there's no way for us to mesh these two lineups into one. Now you have that with Risacher. Like that's why he's such a valuable piece. If this is the player that he is, and I believe it. You can't I know we've been harping on the roll man stuff, but wings don't do that. They don't. Rookie elite players don't look to score off the ball the way Risacher does. And this is just a perfect mind meld with him and what Trae wants from his basketball player. So I think there's a real chance this could be a really good team. If they can hit the ground running and things go right for them. But I think they have a chance to win like 48 plus games this year. I really do.
There you go. I'll leave it there. I appreciate you, as always, digging in for more than an hour, giving me a bunch of time. First, I have to ask you the question I always ask you. Anything to recommend for people? Because people always want the Rex at the end of your appearances on the podcast. If you're first time listener, Tyler just started getting anime recommendations and things like that. So this is now a recurring bit.
All right, so
Nothing?
No, I do have
Okay.
one, but it's a video game. It's not an anime.
That's fine. That's fine. It's
called
old.
Metaphor Refantasio. It's by the same people who made Persona. So if you like Persona, like Persona 5 Royal in particular, same people. It's basically fantasy Persona. But that's too broad of a term. It's a very different. It's a very different experience in game though. It's more Fire Emblem-y with Persona elements is my best rec. But like I've just completed like the first chapter. I don't even think I'm completely finished with it yet. It's a long game. It's a 100+ hour game. I'm enjoying my time with it. Anime Rex though, I don't have anything. Because you got to know RE0's back new season. Got to check that out. Dragon Ball Daima looked pretty good, but I haven't watched the episode yet. One of my Recs, I haven't seen it yet. It's Ranma 1/2. Go ahead and give that a watch. It's a classic. It's got a remake, so go ahead and give that out. It's also on Netflix. There's a lot of good stuff. Just hit me up on X as certain someone likes to call it. Hit me on X, Jonesy2x4, but you also hit me up on Blue Sky. Same address, Jonesy2x4 over on Blue Sky.
There it is.
If you want more Rex.
Follow this man. Once again, I appreciate you, my friend. ATL29 should be a listen for everybody. I'm a every show listener. I don't just say that. I actually am. All the guys are my friends, but it's a great conversation. It's different than this, but it's also really, really good. So that's Tyler and Kevin Chenard and Glenn Willis. And Tyler, let you follow him on Twitter. That'd be a high compliment to you. It's a lot to count. If you find him, he might let you follow him. We'll see how that goes. But Tyler, thanks for all the time, man. I appreciate it. We'll do it again soon. Once we actually see some games that count, we'll reassess as we always do.
Yep.
Appreciate you. As for everybody else, please subscribe to this show on audio platforms as well as YouTube. Please like the episode as you're watching it, et cetera, et cetera. And more to come between now and the opener on Wednesday and then full coverage from that point forward. So stay tuned and we'll see you all next time.